Hello, you guys. This is the review for the final exam, and it'll be very brief. I think each segment will have to be less than 15 minutes, so I'll have to do this in 15 minutes or less. Okay, so we're just going to jump right in, but do remember to reread any areas of your text that you feel will be helpful. And then also look at the corrected versions of your quizzes, and I think that'll help as well. And also look at your midterm, and you'll be in great shape to complete this final. Okay, so I'm just going to get started. Make sure, just a little tip here, in terms of the definitions, for example, statistics, make sure that you have all the components there. So when you're looking at multiple choice options, you're able to select the most appropriate choice. All this I'll just scan through here, and you can definitely read in your text. So you'll see me pause from time to time, and I'll just go to other lecture slides and go from there and try to give you as much pertinent information that you'll need that'll be helpful. Okay? Okay, so you can see that I jumped to chapter 3. And this will cover levels of measurement, and you have to have a really good grasp of the different levels of measurement in order to select the most appropriate test or procedure so you can analyze and describe your data. Okay, in other words, look at the relationship between your data. For the most part, this final exam will cover bivariate variable analyses, but then there will be a little review of univariate statistics, or univariate analysis. Okay, all right, so we'll just go here, and basically, as with the rest, as with the what we've covered this semester, I'll focus on nominal, ordinal, and interval. Okay, and so think in terms of if you're analyzing two variables to see how one variable, such as the independent variable, affects another variable, the dependent variable, think about what levels your independent variable will need to be, as well as your dependent variable, what the level of measurement will need to be in order to use a specific procedure or test, such as the crosstab, the comparison of means, which can be simply the means comparison or the means difference test, or the t-test or the ANOVA, depending on how many levels or how many categories you have in the independent variable. But remember, we're always looking at two variables when we're discussing bivariate analysis, two variables. But keep in mind, your independent variable may have two categories or three categories, four categories or more, for instance, and it has to be nominal. Okay? So take a look at the definition for nominal level measurement. That will be important, and we have some really good examples here, like gender. It has gender as the variable. First of all, it's a nominal level variable. And then the categories are male, female, and transgender. So you have three categories there. So a little later on, when I talk about the different bivariate analyses, you'll see that this would not be appropriate for a t-test because we have three categories. And in order to use a t-test, the independent variable must have only two categories. All right, so if we were looking at gender and we were only studying males and females, then yes, then it would be appropriate to use the t-test. Just to compare the means, see, and when I say compare the means, it just means which category, male or female, will have the highest level, which one would have, for instance, the highest income or the highest level of education or something like that. Okay, So for now, we're just kind of talking about univariate right now. Nominal, that's just an example. Ordinal, a good example of ordinal level measurements is that they will be ranked in some way, and it'll go from either low to high in values or high to low, but you can't intermingle or mix those categories up. So for instance, the order of sequence is important. For example, class status, freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. It would need to go in that order. You can also go from high to low, senior, junior, sophomore, and freshman. But you can't go from freshman to senior to sophomore and so forth, okay? Because it doesn't make sense. It's not sequential. All right, so with each of those categories, it's important because no matter their position, it will give you an idea of where they are in relation to the next category. Is it more or less? We don't know exactly how much more, but we just know that that value, that level, you can call it the level or the category, is higher or lower than the next category or level. So we know that sophomore is more than junior, is more than freshman, but less than senior, okay, and also less than junior. But we don't know how much more or less that category is. We can't say it's junior, junior, or anything like that. It doesn't make sense. So I can't give you an example. Okay. And the last one is interval, and it's fine to group these together. We'll focus mainly the way that we see it commonly discussed in the research journals, social work journals, interval. And ratio, if you're working with ratio level data, then that would be fine to dig a little deeper there. But we're happy this semester to talk in terms of interval level. These are counting numbers. These are numbers that you're used to. You've grown up with whole numbers, fraction, however, it can be in dollars, but they are numbers as you know it and as you've known it since you were a child. Okay, so if you ask someone, for instance, how old they are, naturally you would expect them to say, give you a number, and not a reply such as, I'm older, all right? So we're not asking them to qualify it in that way. We're just asking for a number. If they're willing to give their age, then they will give you a number. They may say, I'm 33, 33 years old, or my child is 18 months old, but they'll give you a number. So something that you can conceptualize very easily. Keep in mind that age is not synonymous with interval level data. So it's not exclusive. They're not. They don't. They age can be interval level, but it also can be nominal or it can be ordinal. So I don't want you to think that it can only be explained one way. If you're going to study and you do want to know if a person is young or old, you can certainly define it that way and ask them to choose one, the first one, if they consider themselves young, and the second if they consider themselves old. That's just one example. But typically people will, especially if they're doing research that has to do with insurance, I think 26 years old and up, your insurance will go down. So it may be that select one for this nominal level variable. If you are if you are 25 years and younger, or select 2 if you are 26 and above. Okay, so that will just give them a way to tease out any other um, um, issues, and they can just kind of succinctly look at whether or not folks are responsible drivers or may have some issues because of maturity, and if they're older and won't be a risk, an insurance risk. Okay, that's just one example. All right, so interval is back to interval. We're looking for a number that we know and that we're used to. Another example, how much money do you make? Folks, if they're comfortable, they'll say, I make $32,000 per year. Okay, so the number, how much do you make per year? The interval level variable, $32,000. And there are other ways, again, to measure a variable called income. And it may be that folks want to know yes or no, do you have an income? And it may be that, that's just relevant to their research if they want to know if this person needs financial assistance or what type of condition that they're in or what type of support that they need for their family. So do they have an income? Yes. Choose 1 for yes and maybe 0 for no, or 0 for no and 1 for yes. Okay. Oh, and let me just say one other thing with interval level data. So it tells that there's a difference, and then it tells if someone said that they were 23 years old and somebody said that they were 24, so 22 years old and 24, the next respondent gave their age. And with just those two numbers, you know that that one is more than the other, and you know exactly by how much more. So you know that the 24-year-old is more or older than the 22-year-old, and you know exactly by how much, 2 years older. Okay, we couldn't have done that with an ordinal level variable because we can't say exactly how much more the next category is um, compared to the one before it. Okay, so just because you have a placeholder or number for your nominal level, like a 1 is for African American, 2 is for Asian, 3 is for Latino, it doesn't mean that 3 Latino is more than 1 African American. Okay, so we can't quantify it in that way. We're just looking at this is a number, so we can analyze the data that is holding, and it could be very well be a symbol or letter or anything, but it's just a way of us holding that space for that particular category or level of the variable. Okay, same thing with ordinal 1, 2, 3, and 4. We do know that the values, the levels like very dissatisfied, dissatisfied, satisfied, and very satisfied. That is sequential. If we had a 1, 2, 3, 4 assigned to those respectively, it shows that they are ranked. So it is more for instance, 4 very satisfied is more than the 3 satisfied, but it doesn't mean that it is 1 more satisfied. Okay, so again, you don't want to pay attention to the numbers. You need to look at what the actual values are, or those levels are, or what the category names are. You need to look at very dissatisfied, dissatisfied, satisfied, and very satisfied, if that makes sense. Okay, so you don't want to get wrapped in a number or letter or symbol. You need to look at the words in the categories. Okay, and I think we're going to run out of time, and I think it's just right to break here. And of course, there's some additional information, a lot more that the publisher gives us in terms of preparing the slides for students. Next semester, you'll get into reliability and validity and how that translates to your levels of measurement. When I return, the next video segment will be on the other chapters after chapter 3. Okay, so I'm not sure if I'm going to actually cover chapter 4, but we'll see. Okay.